Well, maybe we could get, if we could get how many people voted in the governor's election? You have any idea?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see what we can do as far as getting a petition together. I don't know. I woke up with it one morning, Congressman Paul, and said, why not? I mean, this is something maybe that we could really get our arms around and initiate some change. Because that's really my next question. If you wouldn't do that, or one state wouldn't really show people how to do it, what are we going to do? These people, are they not, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not going to relinquish power?
No, unfortunately, the power is going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so what are we going to do?
It went from the communities and the individual to the states, from the states to the federal government, now federal government to international government.
Yes.
And, the World Trade Agreements and all these things going on. No, it's a serious crisis, but at the same time, what I found out in these past 2 years is that we are winning over a lot of young people and a lot of people who realize that the system isn't viable. So I came away after the campaign much more positive than before, but being very realistic that we don't have the majority. But I think what we have to do is change the hearts and minds of people, the philosophy of the people, and that they can't be dependent on government. And I had good responses from young people. Even when I say, I would say, no, I'm not here to give you student loans and handouts. I'm here to let you keep what you earn. And we're going to let you mind your own business, take care of yourself. If you do something that's not smart and you hurt yourself, you can't come back crawling back to the government and make your neighbor take care of you. And they like that message. So and they like the information about the Federal Reserve. We stirred up a lot of interest on college campuses about Federal Reserve. And that's what I was saying earlier. In Washington, they don't care that much, but the college campuses seem to have a lot of interest in monetary policy.
But even, garnering 5, 10, 20 million people, I don't know how many people, how would then that change anything if they have the power, they have the money, they have the gold, they have the military? I mean, wouldn't it literally take a revolution?
Well,
I mean, even if it would be a peaceful revolution?
That's why I
called your book,
is
right?
A revolution. You do need a revolution. It's a revolution of ideas, and it doesn't have to be violent. But I believe if they don't look to us for these peaceful revolutionary changes and just adhering to the Constitution, we are going to have violence because the government cannot take care of the people. They talk about Obama wants to give free medical care to everybody, and every businessman has to provide it. Well, this week I talked in my congressional office, 2 or 3 people came in. If that happens, I have to close my business. I can't afford it. Can you imagine what happens to Walmart? Their prices might have to double. Who knows what will happen? But it's not, they can't provide these services. And that's what they have to realize. And even the elderly, you just can't pass out money forever to the elderly if the money doesn't buy anything. And so we're moving in that direction where there's going to be a lot of anger. And the only way I can see to avoid the anger and violence is to cut spending, and I say start with it all overseas, mind our own business, bring our troops home, save $500 billion the first year, spend more money at home, and start whittling away at our deficit.
I understand that, and I respect that opinion, but you and I both know, is it fair to say that is just not going to happen, Congressman?
No, but it will happen when we go bankrupt and we, just can't afford it. No, that's the only way we can do it if you have a transition, and I agree with you. It's not going to happen.
Yes, sir.
So we have to look forward. Disappointingly, we have to accept the fact that we're going to have a bankruptcy, and we're likely to have the violence because people are saying, you take care of me. I mean, we talked earlier in the program about what it's like dealing with the flood victims over here. People get very, very angry. And I saw somebody the other day, and she lost her home, which was tragic. She had free government housing in a hotel for 30 days. And it was like the taxpayer, committed a violent crime because she had to find a place to live after 30 days.
Sir.
You can be sympathetic, but how long can that sympathy last if you run out of money and the system doesn't work any longer? That's why I expect there's going to be a lot of anger.
I'm wondering, many people, including our man Andrew Goss, Congressman Paul, are predicting super hyperinflation in the next couple of years just to deal with all this money that, and this isn't even talking about Social Security or installing democracy around the world, maybe healthcare stuff and giveaway programs. This is just talking about inflating the monetary base to get this, to keep the music playing, right? To keep the musical chairs so it doesn't stop. And that's hyperinflation. And so as long as we Americans are willing to use dollars, no matter if it takes a wheelbarrow full, Zimbabwe style, it will never really go bankrupt, will it?
Well, it does go bankrupt. I mean, we default on our debt continuously.
We do it all the time.
They claim there's no inflation, but
really,
the inflation, let's assume the inflation is, 10%.
At least.
Well, okay, and we have a $10 trillion national debt. Well, at 10% inflation, in real terms, it's only $9 trillion. So we're cheating people all the time. It's constantly. They won't quit paying. If you own Treasury bills, you'll get your money, and you're always going to get a check from the Social Security beneficiaries are going to get a check, but they're going to get less money. But governments always default, and we're beyond the point where we can pay it off. So they won't pay. They will just pay it off by bad money until you have a new monetary system.
Yeah, so that's really, I mean, how can you fix anything with just throwing bad money after bad, all right? There is no money, right?
You just move ourselves to the
just keep going
to the crisis point where you have the threat of violence, and then you have to revamp, and you have to decide: are we going to have a freer society, or
really
move toward the Constitution, or are we going to have a dictator?
So you really think that we'll see that in our lifetime?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I think that major decisions will have to be made, and I think sometimes it'll be incremental. Like I'm very concerned about what they're going to come down with on this new international currency. I mean, we'll have to sacrifice more sovereignty in order to accept that program, and that is going to be a big shift.
So you think that's what this Bretton Woods thing is laying the groundwork? This new one?
The one that starts on November 15th, which is just around the corner. So I think that's going to be a greater threat. It doesn't look good, but the answers aren't that complicated. I mean, if we just did what we're supposed to do, obey the Constitution, and all this mess we have, all the bad debt and all the malinvestment, it needs to be liquidated. It would take about a year, and we could all go back to work again.
But Congressman, why would the boys, the powers that be that control everything, including the Federal Reserve and the Goldman Sachs and company, we call them around here, why would they ever allow the dollar to be taken down as a reserve currency? But of course, if they control the new one, what would they matter?
No, they'll just move into
a new one
of power, and they're very flexible. They'll use something for as long as possible. I mean, there were various stages of the gold standard being gone, from 1913 up until 33, and then we couldn't own the gold, and then they had Bretton Woods, and then they had Bretton Woods 2, and now they're going to a new international system. So they'll just try desperately to control it. But I do think markets are very powerful. I mean, the market finally brought the Soviet system to its knees, and they had to start all over again, and they had to retrench. And I think we're going to have to do that too. That's why I think our empire will end. I think we're going to be coming back home because we won't be able to afford it.
So things are going to come home to roost.
Yep.
Well. It's exciting to have you around. Think about that governor thing, Ron Paul.
I'll think about it.
I'm not going to let go of it on this end, and maybe if we get enough people to nudge you, you might really consider it.
I think there will be others that can do a better job.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Congressman Ron Paul. Bye-bye.